everyone, and welcome to another episode of Taco Matta Tuesday, the show where we eat healthy, delicious tacos and have conversations about life. Just in case you're wondering, yes, you absolutely can. In case someone hasn't told you that lately, let me be the one to remind you that yes, you freaking can. That is the vibe that I am on right now after what was a whirlwind of a competitive weekend. And I'm excited to share just a little bit more of what all happened and the things that I walked away with that I want to share with you. But first, let's go ahead and talk about the taco of the week. Y'all, after a competition weekend, especially one where you've got things going on both Saturday and Sunday, I had so much carbs and honey stingers and just sugar, right? Caffeine just to keep you awake and alive and fueled. I was just so excited to have some vegetables today. Truly was get some fiber in me, please. On top of the fact that my body is, not totally recovered. So this week, what I wanted to do was selfishly make a taco that was going to get me through not only today, but through the rest of this week. Recovery tacos is the healthy, delicious taco recipe of today. I included a lot of anti-inflammatory foods because when you work your body hard in that capacity, and your muscles are breaking down when they're in that catabolic state, they also get inflamed and puffy, right? That's where the pump comes from. And so right now, especially if you're working really hard, you might be a little bit on the inflamed side, right? So we need to take that inflammation down. And so all of that nerdy talk to basically said I included anti-inflammatory foods such as carrots and zucchini and mushrooms. You have some protein builders such as quinoa and black beans and options to obviously add additional animal protein to it. But the lime zest, the pickled onions, oh my God, so good. So if I didn't sell you enough on this own taco recipe that, yes, I created myself, you're going to have to go and check out the show notes now because it's just so good. And I'm excited to have it again. All right. First off, I apologize. I may cough. I may sneeze. If I sound like a man, it's because I am fighting a cold. So I apologize if that happens to be the case. But I am just so enamored by what took place this weekend. Because if you guys followed the episode from last week, this time last Monday, I was recording an episode hours after I had just gotten out of the hospital for a dehydration scare that looked like initial symptoms of a potential stroke. And it was just such a crazy experience that I'd never been through before. Middle of the week, the crap show continues with a hip impingement that causes my left leg to go numb. And then to round it all off, on Saturday morning when I'm supposed to go compete in 4 different workouts that are not for the weak-hearted, I woke up with this head cold, with this sickness, and I just remember even in the warm-up area when I was getting ready to practice the barbell complex, just feeling a little dizzy, feeling a little lightheaded, even though I had been super fueled, super hydrated, got, my IV hydration boost, all the things, right? And it was just I've got a fever. I feel like crap. I can't totally click into place here. Just the worry, everything, right? So that was literally my week up into the minutes right before this competition week took off. And to walk out of this weekend with 3 out of 4 workouts that I won, in addition to being the overall female open winner for the Cirrus Bricks, and then to go at a second day and go down to Flow Vault for the Colorado Ninja League finals, and feeling totally trashed. My upper body was so sore. I felt sick once again. And I was working too. I was running the competition, all the things, to go and run 2 different courses and win champion, that win the title of champion of season 7 for the female 26 plus pro-am division. I just can't even. Like, I'm still sinking into this, and I think this is just something about me, is like, I work so hard to get to these results, to get to these places, and when I finally get here, I'm just like, no way. That didn't happen. And I almost like struggle to be like, hell yeah, I did that. Like, it's odd. It's odd for me to be in this place and a title of a champion, because it's not familiar. So, being in this unfamiliar territory, there was a lot of things that came out of this weekend and out of this experience that I really reflected on, that truly gave me a new perspective to navigate my upcoming endeavors with, because this just, is the first part of the ride. In May, I've got Cirrus Bricks Finals. I also have a DecaFit teams and individual run to do here in Colorado. And then 2 weeks later in June, I'm flying out to Connecticut to try and put up another Deca Strong PR, doing a Deca Strong teams, doing the Deca Mile for the first time. Like, a lot is happening in the next like month and a half, right? So this is just the start of the madness. And so I'm navigating all of these endeavors, my training, my headspace, with just this new perspective. And I'm excited to share it with you, especially if, whether it's in the gym or on the course, in the competition space, or even just in the office, right? In your business, whatever it is. If you're chasing to be a champion, whatever that looks like for you, I'm really hoping that just these things that I reflected on will really help you take that next step and just embrace it, right? So the first thing that I want to mention, which is probably the obvious, is that things will rarely ever be perfect. The situation will rarely ever be perfect. So don't make that your barrier to entry. Or don't make it the limiter to your results. And I hope that makes sense, and I hope that hits, because I think that so many of us are like, okay, I work so hard to recover the week before a big event, and I do all the right things, I get all the sleep, I feel the right way, and we expect to wake up on competition day feeling like 110%, locked and loaded, ready to go. And if we don't, if there's one thing that's wrong of, oh, I have a little bit of pain there. Oh, I have a little bit of worry there. Oh, this isn't feeling totally right. Like, for example, if our warm-up sucks and we feel totally winded after a warm-up, we almost make that our barrier to entry of like, oh, things aren't perfect, therefore it's not going to happen to me. We also make it our limiting factor and put that glass ceiling on what it is that we're actually capable of the results we're capable of producing. I want to shoot that in the freaking foot right now, because I had more than a less than ideal week. I lived a lot of life in the last 7 days, to say the least. And to just deal with one thing after another, and still find a way to stay grounded and to then execute the way that I did, like, it just goes to show that things don't have to be perfect, and rarely will they ever be. So I'm never again going to be afraid of when something is sore, when something is aching, when I'm not feeling totally 100%, because what I just showed myself after navigating so many obstacles is that it doesn't matter. I can still produce the best results with whatever it is that I have available in the tank. And that's amazing, right? And I actually didn't write this one down. Just saying that out loud reminded me that I wanted to share this as well too, is like, you got to wake up and you got to know that every day is going to look different. And the best thing that you can do, I say this all the time, is you give 100% of whatever it is that you have to give that day. If that means you wake up and you only have 5%, give 100% of that 5%, and you will never lose. You will never fail. You will never disappoint yourself. Yes, is it a bummer? Yes. I get it. It sucks when you work this hard and things don't line up. But don't make that the limiting factor as to why you can't go out there and show yourself that you can. Because that's what I did this weekend, and I am so proud of that effort, of that headspace that I put myself in, even though I was feeling like complete horseshit. So, just a reminder. Next, when I was feeling like complete horseshit, I told myself, the only thing I can control right now is not how the other competitors do. I cannot control how I'm even going to feel, how my body is going to react throughout this entire day. But I can control the thing that's happening in between my ears, and that is my thoughts. And I get to control what it is that I give power to. So I want to share this, that what you give power to is what will win over any talent or any hard work you have put in. Truly. Because if that voice inside of your head is not straight and is not in the right space, and you're giving power and focus to the wrong things, well, then that's what you're going to see come to life. I was in and out of worry, you guys, and I was feeling, like I said, complete crap. And I just had to keep telling myself, like, you got to flip the script here. And this wasn't like I told myself this once and it like flipped into place for me. It took me up until the end of the first event to be like, all right, we're in it. We're doing it. We're here, ready, locked, and loaded. But I just kept telling myself, what are you going to give power to? I kept asking myself that question because I know when I ask myself those better questions, I will always get better results. What are you going to give power to? What are you going to give power to? What is the story that you want to tell at the end of this race, at the end of this day, when you get on your podcast in a couple of days? What is the story that you want to tell? If that is the story you want to tell, great. Then you got to choose whatever it is that you need to give power to in order to tell that story, right? So just in those moments where you feel the doubt, where you feel the worry, it's okay. You're not failing. You're not ridiculous. You're not wrong because you're feeling those things. You're a human being, right? And we have to go through these things. But it's how quickly can you flip the script and can you ask yourself the question, what am I choosing to give power to right now? I'm not going to choose to give power to the fact that I feel like crap and that things are not going well. I'm going to give power to the fact that I am so grateful to be here after being hospitalized this week. And I'm so grateful for the chance to challenge myself, not only just in a physical sense, but in a mental sense today, because I am not 100%, right? Like, how cool is it going to be that I overcome even when I wasn't firing on all cylinders? So just a reminder that what you give power to is going to outrun any sort of hard work that you've put in. The next thing is you will only be as good as your ability to adapt allows for. I think adaptability, not only just as an athlete, but as a human being in any capacity, is probably one of the most important characteristics that you can have. That tenacity, that perseverance, the ability to bounce back. And again, it's not because you don't experience fear. It's because you're able to pivot quickly. And I think that, this is what I admire and what I've come to observe about some of the top athletes that I compete with, both in the Ninja Warrior and the hybrid racing space, is that it's not what makes them what makes them absolutely incredible and unbeatable is not because they do everything flawlessly. Yes, from the outside, sometimes it looks like it does. But if you watch some of these races, there's mistakes, there's little things here and there that could have been totally cleaned up. And it has nothing to do with perfect execution. It has everything to do with how quickly can they flip the script and adapt based off of what the situation has given them. You have to remember, it's not about what happens to you, it's about how you respond. And the best of the best in the world in any capacity are really good at responding quickly and in a way that serves them. So, how are you doing in your adaptability space, arena of life? Do you put yourself in those situations where you are forced to adapt often? And if you don't, how can you put yourself in more of those situations? I think that, again, if you can do that more often, by the time that you get to the big day, whatever that event is for you, you're not going to be thrown up when things didn't go your way, when your race plan didn't pan out the way that you needed to. You're able to just respond in a way that keeps you calm and grounded, and you're able to keep putting one foot in front of the other until you reach the finish line. The next thing, kind of along the same lines here, I guess not at all along the same lines, but one thing that I really am proud of myself for, and this is something that my dad and my best friend, they've commented on this, but is just the ability for me to put up my horsey flaps. And you might have no idea what I mean by that. I'll explain. But it's just the ability to like stay focused on me and not worry about looking over to my left or to my right to see what the pace of my competitors are and how far they're going, and playing that comparison game in the heat of the moment, right? So I just want to remind you that the only race that matters is your own race. Everyone's going to come in with their own race plan and their own race strategy. And if you at any moment, let the fact that they go in front of you, that they start to go faster than you, whatever the case is, just those little things that might start to spark your heart rate and make you nervous that you're falling behind. If you let that happen, then you're not in the right headspace. You got to come back internally, and you got to realize that by trying to run their race, you're losing out on your own. And there's no way that you're going to win, because it's not your strategy. It's not your race to win. That's their race to win. You got to go out there and win your own race. And one of the best examples that I have of this is the second workout was a speed workout for Cirrus. And it was a sandbag one, which it was not speed. It was literally like molasses. We were all laughing because I was like, I'm approaching the speed event like an endurance event. I have 10 minutes to get, basically it's one big AMRAP. You have to move sandbags up and over. You got to carry them. You got to drag them in a bear crawl. You're working with one at one point. You're working with two at some other points. You got 10 minutes to get as many bags up and over the wall and yourself up and over the wall as you can within 10 minutes, right? And so that's where the idea of speed comes in, is that you're supposed to go fast. But if you know anything about, carrying and bear crawling sandbags, just the whole nature of the event, you would know that like there is no way that you could go out hot and heavy for straight 10 minutes and keep the same pace. So it was slow. I approached it very much like an endurance event. Anyways, I digress. All of that to say is that there was a sweet woman next to me. I raced her in 2 different races, but this was our first race together. And she went out in front of me. And I had a choice in that moment, as I could be like, oh, I'm falling behind. I'm going too slow. I need to pick it up. Or I could come back internally and focus on my breath, focus on what's most important when it comes to my strategy, and focus on what it is that I know that I'm capable of, that I know how I operate as an athlete, because I've been in this place so many times before. And I continue to do that, right? So the first minute or two, I take it at a nice slow pace. And then as I go, I ramp up, I ramp up, I ramp up, I ramp up. And by the end, I'm flying. And that is what won me that race. And it's because I didn't let what was going on next to me impact me. I came back internal and I focused on what I knew I was capable of in my own race. Now, on the flip side of that, you also have to think about her, right? She knows that I am the woman that won Open, and she's racing one of the top athletes. And she's probably like, I have to either A, get out in front, or I have to keep up with her. She's not keeping her own race strategy. She's sitting there trying to figure out how to decoy me. When if she would have just kept the pace that she know that she could hold, she probably would have actually kept up with me as a byproduct, right? And so again, all this to say, guys, the only race that matters is yours. So even though the comparison game, that push, that feeling of worry and anxiety of the athletes that are next to you, like, I get it. I've been in that situation. I know what that feels like. But when you are able to race from that space of like total confidence, of knowing yourself, it's just such a different experience. I absolutely love it. And there's nothing that feels better to walk out of the race knowing that I executed it that way, being like, I won. And I won because I trusted my training and I trusted the process and I trusted what it was that I was capable of. So a little bit of a tangent there on that one, but I hope that that makes sense and allows for you to really rate yourself on how do you do in that situation. And if you don't do well in those situations, here's what I encourage you to do. If you don't take classes, if you don't do things with other people where maybe the comparison game or you kind of get stack ranked up against other people, maybe put yourself in more of those situations, just like I mentioned in the last one, right? Are you putting yourself in those situations where you have to adapt? Are you actually practicing those things where you have to adapt? Same thing here. Are you putting yourself up against other people head to head where you are forced to just focus on yourself? And I think that just practicing that alone will allow for you to really thrive and not give in to those tendencies to race in the non-serving way when the moment matters. Okay. Last couple of things here. There's a million things that you could have done better, but can you find the things that a previous version of you would be so proud of? I remember getting off of stage 1 of the Colorado Ninja League finals, getting off that course. And I was just kind of downloading with Megan, and I was like, God, that was way harder than it should have been. I am really tired right now. And she's like, dude, the fact that you even took a step on the course today, like, that is a win, right? And she kept reminding me of that. And as I was like sitting there thinking about it, I remember telling her like, I'm kind of bummed that I missed the salmon ladder obstacle. Like, usually I have that down pat. I was really looking forward to, crushing that one. So I was really bummed and da-da-da-da. I started to actually think through the race and think about actually how hard it was, how challenging it was, even though from the outside it really wasn't, it looked deceiving. And to think about the fact that there were times where literally my fingertips were slipping off the cliffhanger and my upper body was just starting to go numb and it was so fatigued. And thinking about how a previous version of Kayla probably would have fell off the wall. Not because she couldn't keep going, but because mentally she tapped out. And I had to think about, whoa, even though I wanted this to feel good, even though this didn't feel like the fluid, incredible runs that I've had this past season in Ninja, I was able to literally overcome so much fatigue and so much exhaustion and so much just soreness, again, not being 100%, and still put on an awesome run. Despite how ridiculous and crazy and the fact that I might have fell all over the place, it doesn't matter. I got it done, right? And so I had to go back and look at the million reasons why I should be proud, because we're so good at looking at the other side of the coin. So this is just a call to, if you've done a race recently, if you've done a presentation or whatever it is, right? There's a million things that you could have done better. Learn from those things, but don't let them be the definer of you. Go and celebrate yourself. Go look at the other side of the coin of all the things that you did do. Maybe not to the perfect measure or to a previous measure of success that you had in a different season and a different stage of life. But in this stage of life, right? Knowing that for me, for example, I train Ninja maybe once a week if I'm lucky, because I'm so taxed and busy and exhausted training DECA and the things that are most important and priority to me right now. So hello, like, I should be really proud of the fact that I just did what I did, okay? And this is where I want to slide into the second to last thing for you guys, is this reminder that the results you are seeing right now are a byproduct of the work you put in 6 months ago. And when you put it in that perspective, this is truly a reminder to stay consistent with the things that got you here. Right? So look back 6 months from now and think about what it is that got you here, good or bad, right? If you maybe aren't seeing the results that you want to right now, well, go back 6 months ago. What were you doing? What were your priorities? What were your commitments and actions? How did you behave, right? Those habits, those things, those routines, they're going to compile up, and that's what you're going to get 6 months from now, right? So it's a reminder to stay consistent with the things that got you here. Obviously not if you don't like the results. If you like the results, be sure to stay consistent to those things and not get blindsided by all of these fluffy unicorns and sparkly, I forgot all the words that I was going to say. But you know what I mean? Like the shiny ball, that's the one. That's the one that I was looking for. But anyways, you're not getting blindsided by those. But I also want to share is think about the story that you want to tell 6 months from now. So I think 6 months from now, and it's October, 6 months from now. And in 6 months from now, literally almost on the date, that's actually crazy. That's kind of weird thinking about it. It'll be the last qualifying weekend for DECA for me to get in the best time, where I want to be able to say that I qualified for elite in my second year of hybrid racing, right? So if that's the story that I want to tell, then I have to go and give myself an honest gut check right now and look at everything that I'm doing, from how I'm training to how I'm fueling to how I'm recovering and all the things in between that matter, right? I have to make sure that those align to the story that I want to tell. And if they don't, well, it's time to take a hard look at that and get honest with myself and to change something. Otherwise, guess what? In 6 months from now, you're not going to be telling that story. It's flat out. It is the way that it is, right? all of that being said, the last thing that I want to leave you with on the show today is that on your way to becoming a champion, please never lose sight of who you are in the heat of the moment. Like, there were so many things this weekend, from, again, less than ideal situations to the butterflies and like navigating in and out of different events and going back to back competition days, right? Where it was easy to feel cranky, where it was easy to feel frustrated, all the things, right? But I still found the moments to smile. I still found the moments to giggle and laugh and be my goofy self, to dance, to be 100% authentically me. Like, I can't think of one thing this weekend or one moment or time this weekend where I wasn't authentically and genuinely myself. And I'll tell you guys, when you act from that place, despite all the other extracurriculars that are going on around you, those little quirks, the things that make you you, I know, at least for me, speaking for myself, they bring me back home to me, and they keep me grounded, and they keep me calm, and they keep my head on straight. And those things alone are what allow for me to perform. When I'm acting from the most authentic version of myself and I don't try and be anyone else besides myself, I am not only proud of the woman that crosses the finish line, no matter what time or what score or whatever it is that comes on the other side of that finish line, but I notice that the best performance comes from that authentic version of myself too. So please never lose sight of who you are. And also, please never lose sight as to why you started this endeavor in the first place. If I had to take a wild guess, you probably started this because you loved it. Because it brought out something in you that nothing else really could have. And I'm getting the goosebumps right now. And I don't want to be like emotional and weird on this podcast today. But truly, you guys, like, that why is just so important. And it's going to bring about the best outcomes if you consistently operate from it. Thank you guys so much for showing up for you today. And I hope that this podcast episode resonated. If it by chance did, please be sure to rate or review the podcast, share it with friends and family that need to hear the message. And if there is anything that you'd be interested in hearing in the meantime, again, I am just speaking from the perspective of what I'm going through in my life. But if there's things that you're going through in your life that you want an opinion on, never be afraid to reach out to me personally to let me know of what it is that you'd like to hear about so we can navigate life together. Until then, you guys, enjoy the taco of the week, and I'll see you guys next week for another episode. See you then.